Season 2 is the excavation, peeling back what remains buried beneath fame, grief, and fear. The teaser closes on a single haunting visual. Kim Porter's smiling face fades into static. 50 Cent's voice returns one last time, low, deliberate, and chilling. If Season 1 was the reckoning, Season 2 will be the aftermath. Then, in a whisper that leaves the viewer frozen, because in Diddy's world, nothing stays buried forever. One juror admits, "We weren't deciding just on a man. We were deciding on a myth, and myths are hard to convict." Another confides, "Some of us believed every word of the victims. Others questioned the timeline. But when those tapes surfaced, the room went silent." They reference the 140 hours of self-recorded footage that allegedly captured everything, from lavish freak-offs to conversations about silencing witnesses. Netflix only shows a few blurred frames, but the implication is explosive. It's clear the tapes became a deciding factor in Diddy's conviction, even though the bulk of them remain sealed by court order. Then comes the moment that sends chills through everyone watching. Former assistant Capricorn Clark, once a trusted member of Diddy's inner circle, takes the stand. She recounts a night when Diddy allegedly kidnapped her at gunpoint after discovering her connection to Suge Knight's family. Her trembling voice echoes through the courtroom. "He told me, if I ever find out you play both sides, I'll have to kill you." I believed him because I'd already seen what he could do.
He says, "Hey, I didn't know you had anything to do with Suge. Like, if something happens, I'm gonna have to kill you." He wanted to let me know how it would happen. You will be in a dark park and there will be no one around if this shit goes left. And I'm telling you, like, we just gonna do it like this so you really understand. I never told anyone. I never called the police. Anybody else would have said, "Puff Daddy told me he's gonna kill me in the park."
Clark's emotional breakdown becomes one of the documentary's defining moments. The jurors interviewed afterward describe it as the testimony that changed everything. Still, not everyone believed her. One juror admits they thought she was too emotional, too traumatized to be coherent. That tension between credibility and trauma is precisely what makes this episode so haunting. Episode 4 doesn't let up. Former Bad Boy co-founder Kirk Burroughs, already known for his accusations in earlier episodes, drops a bombshell. Sitting stiffly in a dimly lit room, he declares, "I'm also a victim, on multiple levels, not just professionally, personally, sexually." Burroughs describes a toxic, coercive environment at Bad Boy, where loyalty meant submission and silence was currency. He alleges sexual deviance, manipulation, and control, calling Diddy a man who fed off fear. His allegations are corroborated by unnamed former employees who describe closed-door meetings and ritual-like behavior within Combs' mansion. While some of these claims remain unverified, the detail and emotion behind Burroughs' testimony leave viewers shaken.
One day, it seemed like out of the blue, my door opens up. Sean walks in. He wanted me to sign my 25% over. And Diddy's over me like this.
I'm gonna stay right there. I can't do it, man.
He wants it now. And he threatened until I did. It wasn't like he was firing me. I wanted to stay in good graces. I still wanted to be at the company, but I was definitely confused by it. It might sound strange, but if you've ever built something and you want it to last.
For the first time, the camera cuts to an old photo of Diddy and Burroughs in 1994. Two young moguls smiling, arms around each other. The visual contrast between that image and Burroughs' trembling voice decades later is devastating. In the middle of the storm, Janice Combs, Diddy's 83-year-old mother, enters the frame with a fierce rebuttal. Through archival clips and a newly recorded statement, she denounces the entire project. "This is not journalism. This is a hit job. My son has made mistakes, But he is no monster. She specifically targets Kirk Burroughs' claim that Diddy once slapped her after the 1991 City College stampede, calling it inaccurate and patently false. Her voice shakes, but her message is clear. The documentary, in her view, is not about justice. It's about revenge. They are using my son's pain and my pain for entertainment, she says. Netflix cuts to the statement Diddy's legal team said before the doc's release, labeling The Reckoning a shameful hit piece. But the footage that follows Diddy pacing, shouting at his lawyers, veins bulging as he screams, "Fix this. They can't do this to me," paints a far darker picture. It's raw, unfiltered, and haunting. The closing montage intercuts courtroom footage with behind-the-scenes clips of Diddy in his final days of freedom. It's clear he was documenting his downfall, perhaps out of arrogance or maybe as insurance. We see him pacing his Miami mansion, barking orders into his phone. "They need me. The world needs me. You think I'm finished? I'm not finished." But his voice cracks.
But just as not guilty. I want to have a life to be able to live. It's really going to be hard for me to take more hits than I take it.
You didn't do anything wrong on any front, and you've come to New York to face things head on. If anyone's ever paying any attention to what you've actually been doing, you've handled this with complete.
Then you have to have a spokesman. You have to have some sort of comms to constantly be pushing that, Mark. In the dirtiest of dirty business of media and propaganda.
For the first time, the swagger is gone. The final 90 seconds are eerily quiet. The screen shows the Bad Boy Records logo fading slowly into black and white static. Then, 50 Cent's voice cuts through. When you play God long enough, the world eventually demands proof. As the credits roll, text overlays appear on screen. Sean Combs is currently serving his sentence at Fort Dix Federal Correctional Institution in New Jersey. Over 100 civil lawsuits remain pending. Netflix has confirmed 140 hours of additional footage, not included in this series. The camera lingers on the words, "To be continued." It's not just a teaser for a potential sequel. It's a statement. The story of Sean Diddy Combs isn't finished. It's still being written. In courtrooms, in survivor testimonies, and in the collective conscience of a culture finally reckoning with its own silence. Within hours of Episode 4's release, the internet explodes again. Link again trends globally. Viewers post reaction videos, crying, shaking, or sitting in stunned silence. One viral tweet reads, "We watched the fall of a king, and for once, the kingdom didn't cheer." Critical nail in hip-hop's wall of silence. Meanwhile, 50 Cent posts a final Instagram story. A single crown emoji falling off a chess piece. No caption, no hashtags, just silence. And that silence, after 4 brutal, unflinching hours of television, is the loudest sound of all. Then came the debate that split the public down the middle. For some, the reckoning was the justice long denied. A long overdue exposure of power abuse, manipulation, and decades of silence. For others, it was revenge disguised as revelation, orchestrated by enemies like 50 Cent to destroy a rival while he was already on his knees. TikTok, Reddit, and podcasts erupted into philosophical and moral questions. Is this accountability? One user asked. Or a public stoning? Would this doc exist if he wasn't already convicted? Another replied. The question dominated social feeds for days. Fans reposted side-by-side clips. Diddy shouting at his lawyers in the final moments versus 50 Cent's calm, controlled voiceover. When you play God long enough, the world eventually demands proof. Was 50 Cent seeking truth or vengeance? Music critics debated the ethics of his involvement. The Guardian described 50 as both narrator and executioner, while Billboard called the series a personal vendetta turned cultural exorcism. Even those sympathetic to Diddy couldn't deny the power of the footage. The scenes of him barking orders at his legal team, sweating, unraveling. These became viral symbols of the empire's collapse. And then came that post. 50 Cent, who had remained mostly quiet since episode 3, returned to Instagram the morning after the finale with a single message. The footage ain't even half of what's coming. No caption, no hashtags, just a black screen with those words in bold white text. Within minutes, it was reposted tens of thousands of times. Fans flooded the comments. What does he mean by half? Is there a part 2? If this is half, the rest must be nuclear. Entertainment insiders hinted that 50 Cent had access to even more unreleased material, potentially involving other industry figures and incidents surrounding Kim Porter's mysterious 2018 death. Theories ran wild. Podcasters dubbed it the biggest cliffhanger in documentary history. And for once, everyone, from journalists to casual viewers, agreed on something. This wasn't the end of the story. The final minutes of The Reckoning play like a eulogy for an era. Not just for Sean Diddy Combs, but for a culture that confused power with greatness. As the screen fades between empty studios, shuttered offices, and darkened clubs once ruled by Bad Boy's music, 50 Cent's narration cuts through with quiet intensity. The Reckoning doesn't just expose Sean Combs. It exposes a system. One that protected power, silenced victims, and glorified control. Those words echo long after the credits roll. What started as a 4-part docuseries about one man's alleged downfall has become something far larger. A cultural mirror. The documentary forces the audience and the industry to confront how far they were willing to look away. For years, Diddy was more than a music mogul. He was the model of untouchable success, a man who built an empire on ambition and invincibility. But when that empire collapsed, it revealed the machinery underneath, the lawyers, executives, and institutions that enabled the myth to stand for decades. Legal experts on CNN and MSNBC call the series a landmark in accountability storytelling. Social commentators dub it the R. Kelly moment for the hip-hop generation. And within Hollywood, a new unease has taken hold. If Diddy can fall, who's next? Even from prison, Sean Combs hasn't gone silent. His legal team released a statement calling the series fiction sold as fact, and announced that Diddy is working on a tell-all memoir tentatively titled Can't Stop, Won't Fall. According to insiders, the book will claim that Netflix manipulated interviews, fabricated context, and weaponized personal trauma to destroy him. Rumors are swirling that Diddy is also developing a counter-documentary, possibly funded by private investors and slated for release under the working title Unedited. The truth about The Reckoning. Early reports suggest the project will feature former associates, family members, and ex-staff who refute the Netflix portrayal. Whether this is a desperate attempt at redemption or a final act of defiance remains unclear. But it ensures one thing: Diddy's war with the truth isn't over. Meanwhile, reality continues to close in. Over 100 active lawsuits remain pending, many from former employees, collaborators, and alleged victims. The Department of Justice has hinted that further investigations are ongoing, particularly regarding financial misconduct, witness intimidation, and human trafficking allegations tied to Diddy's business ventures. Several cases, once dismissed or sealed, are reportedly being reopened in light of The Reckoning's new evidence. Attorneys representing multiple plaintiffs have already cited the Netflix footage as grounds for appeal. In other words, the fallout is only beginning. Beyond the courtroom, the cultural shift is seismic. Hip-hop forums are flooded with debates about separating art from artist. Artists who once idolized Diddy are reassessing their own legacies, wondering how much complicity fame demands. A viral editorial from The Atlantic summed it up. The Reckoning isn't just about Diddy. It's about us, the fans, the media, the industry, and how we all played a part in keeping him untouchable. The documentary has already become a touchstone in film studies and journalism programs. Professors cite it as a modern case study in how digital media can force transparency when institutions refuse to. And for many survivors, Cassie Ventura, Lil Rod, Joy Dickerson Neal, and others, the series represents something deeper than exposure, a collective validation that their silence wasn't in vain. In its closing moments, The Reckoning returns to the same motif that opened the series. The image of Diddy walking alone down a dark hallway, camera in hand, filming himself. But this time, the confident smirk is gone. The final shot freezes on his face, tired, hollow, unguarded, before fading into a single, ominous line of text. The empire may have fallen, but the story isn't over. As viewers sit in stunned silence, the feeling isn't triumph, it's reckoning. Because the true villain isn't just Diddy. It's the system that let him become Diddy in the first place. Just when the credits seem to end, the screen flickers, and a single name appears. Kim Porter. A low hum builds under archival footage of her smiling beside Diddy, cradling their twins, laughing in interviews. Then, the narration whispers. Some stories weren't ready to be told until now. Rumors about Season 2 have already begun to swirl, fueled by leaked production notes and whispers from insiders close to 50 Cent. The working title, The Kim Porter Mystery. This rumored sequel will center on the life and death of Kim Porter, Diddy's longtime partner and the mother of 3 of his children. A woman whose sudden passing in 2018 remains one of Hollywood's most haunting, unsolved tragedies. Reports indicate that The Reckoning's production team had access to exclusive material related to Porter's final days. Interviews, diary entries, and even unreleased home footage allegedly found within Diddy's personal archives. But those scenes were withheld from Season 1, reportedly due to ongoing investigations. Music producer and Porter's former partner Al B. Sure, who has long claimed she feared for her life, resurfaces in early teasers. In 2023, he posted a cryptic message on Instagram before deleting it. "They killed her. I'm not afraid to say it anymore." Fans believe his words are the foundation for Season 2's central narrative, a search for truth buried beneath wealth, influence, and fear. According to Variety insiders, 50 Cent is already in talks to produce the follow-up, expanding on the evidence and interviews left out of The Reckoning. Unconfirmed reports suggest the sequel could feature unreleased footage from Diddy's home surveillance archives, spanning 2016 to 2018, new testimonies from former house staff and security members, investigative deep dives into the final week of Porter's life, including the mysterious timeline of her flu-like symptoms, connections between Porter's death and sealed lawsuits against Combs filed in 2019. If Season 1 was the collapse, Season 2 is the excavation, peeling back what remains buried beneath fame, grief, and fear. The teaser closes on a single haunting visual. Kim Porter's smiling face fades into static. 50 Cent's voice returns one last time, low, deliberate, and chilling. If Season 1 was the reckoning, Season 2 will be the aftermath. Then, in a whisper that leaves the viewer frozen, because in Diddy's world, nothing stays buried.